Chris, we're back again.
Back again.
GX is back. I just want to get an immediate hot take from you. It's our big event of the year. Obviously, we put a lot of time and effort into it.
Yeah.
Tell me what your immediate thoughts are for GX this year.
So for me, the time and effort always shines through. It's always a top-notch event. It's always of the moment. I mean, you couldn't pick something which is more timely than talking about hacking, cybersecurity, power of AI at a time when we've got major high street retailers in the UK not being able to process orders. All of those things coming together, creating real events that touch real people. So I think very timely, high impact event. And as always, it's the power of the people around and about it, from setting it up right the way through to the conversations that are happening. The presenters are on stage, the energy that comes in a room like this, where we've got the biggest GX that we've ever done, actually. You can feel that enthusiasm, that power of people coming through. Really quite an inspiring place to be.
Last year was an instrumental moment for us, wasn't it? We rebranded, we kind of evolved our brand.
Yep.
Good Together came together.
Boom,
there we go. And I think if we think about the last 12 months, it feels to me like it's gathered its own identity. I think we've seen different examples of how Good Together is really being surfaced in many different ways, perhaps different ways than what we originally thought when we originally brought the new branding together.
Yep.
So it's been a bit of a whirlwind 12 months. What's your view on how that's gone and where we are with it?
So I think you did right. I think one of the really powerful things about that phrase "good together" is it means something to everybody. And we designed it obviously trying to think about what it meant for Gamma being good with the people that we do business with, our partners, our customers, prospects, the suppliers. But actually, I think it resonates with everybody here. I think it resonates with everybody inside Gamma, and it resonates with everyone who's part of our community. And I think that's an amazing testament to how that was built, researched, constructed. And I think it really shows how we created that by listening to that community, not by trying to broadcast something into it. And I think that strength and that the way it's intrinsic to how everybody being together has really amplified it, because it means that everybody can see that on the wall and it means something to them right in their heart. And it's something they can carry with them. And I think that's so powerful, because it means that you're not asking people to behave or do anything differently. You're asking them to be themselves, to do the right thing in that situation. And I think that builds, like you said, its own momentum. It's like a stone rolling down a hill. It builds its momentum. It carries the whole landscape with it. And from that, you unlock the real power of that phrase. A really simple.
Also last year, we launched Elements,
Yep.
which was our way of really bringing together what is a very, very, very big and broad and complex portfolio under one umbrella.
Yep.
We've mined that this year, again, leaning into our own sort of play, I guess you like, with the Good Together, because we're seeing huge amounts of convergence, specifically in that communication and collaboration zone, where we're seeing the UCAS and the CCAS worlds come together, but also we're seeing it in security and networking as well. So it's a really, really interesting position I find ourselves in at this moment in time. I'd just like to get your take on that convergence and well, let me just get your take and your thoughts on it.
I mean, I think it's real, isn't it? It's there. We can see it happening in customers. And actually, if you think about your own life, the reason it's happening for our customers is because we are driving it as individuals, not as Gamma. When you're interacting with someone that you're doing business with, it's no longer enough that there's a phone number. You want to be able to hit them with WhatsApp. You want an email. Still think it's unlikely you're doing a video call with your bank. But they're coming together, because what that means is the customers that we set, the businesses that we're working with, are having to think about combinations of services, because we're demanding that experience goes up. So as individuals, as consumers, we're driving that convergence, like you say, of connect and experience, as we term it, so the telephone call and the wider experience piece. And then something that Hendrik, our partnership with Cisco, going from strength to strength, underpinning some of this too. You can't have a network now if you're not thinking about security. Co-op and Marks and Spencers would probably echo that right now today as we're talking about it. You can't have one without the other. The convergence is just there. You have to be security first. You have to be thinking about that posture and defending your estate before you think about any kind of information flow, before you start thinking about any kind of endpoints, it's got to be right. How are we going to create an environment which is absolutely secure? And those two pairs, if you will, of elements are naturally coming together, I think. And that's great for us. It means that we can have a richer conversation with our customers. We help people with sort of more problems simultaneously. But equally, it creates, I think, better outcomes. Something, again, which was on stage today, talking about, think about your outcome. Think about what it is you're trying to drive. You've got people who are naturally now tending towards these more complete solutions that then solve more problems simultaneously. And I think that's one of the real sort of superpowers that anybody can help confer, is two widely spaced problems that have a common answer. So that convergence for me is driven by us as individuals, it's driven by the world around us, and it's leading to these natural evolutions of technology, creating this whole new way of thinking about doing business.
You spoke about partnerships there, and I lent into that earlier on the stage. I'm deeply, deeply passionate about the partnerships that we create and forge with our customers. But I also feel we've got a massive part to play forging those partnerships with the vendors as well. And I like to almost see ourselves sat in the middle, really, in terms of making sure our customers get the absolute maximum amount of value that they're getting, and the returns from the money that it's hard fought money that they're investing in their business to get the best returns. And obviously understanding what these vendors have got to offer. Talk to me about how, from your lens and from your side of things, what we're doing to make those partnerships deeper.
So I think the partnership is key, by the way, just to reinforce that. And I think Gamma's in a unique position of having this reach and this intimacy into the customer base that we have, and being big enough that we are interesting and of scale and can drive meaningful performance change for the global hyperscalers that we work with. And I think it's that. I think we are then committing to these partnerships. Somebody said earlier, I think focus is about what you choose not to do versus what you choose to do. We're choosing the people that we want to work with to help us fulfill the promise that we make through elements, and we're picking the people who we think can take us furthest and fastest on that. And that focus itself, I think, brings a depth of connection. I think we're good. I think if you asked our partners, I'd hopefully say the same, that we're good at explaining the market context. We're good and we're focused about asking for things. We don't come with spurious requests, because good together that we talked about earlier, good for customers, actually applies upstream as well. We've got to be good for our partners, and they've got to be good relationships. So we invest, you're all part of this, you're around these as well. We want to be at the table with those partners, advocating for our customers, advocating for the future of where we see the very local things evolving in the market in the UK, but also across Europe and more broadly now. We bring that value of a real strong, high touch, highly engaged connection with business, particularly in Europe, which I think is sometimes quite difficult for American companies to internalize as well. So I think we've got a blend of a lot of really strong assets that make us a really, hopefully, valuable partner to those people as well.
As a leader at the heart of our business, you're clearly right amongst it when it comes to setting the strategy, looking forward, looking for those opportunities that we can exploit for our customers' benefit. I appreciate that there's going to be a limit to what you can unpack here. Yeah. But what can our customers look forward to, maybe in the near or now future that we're going to unpack?
I think you see a lot of underlying technology change, for starters. Say the UK as an example, the PSTN switch off is still a thing. We're going to move at some kind of time frame to an all IP, very highly sort of fiber-based solution. And that's going to it's going to need a lot of change for people, but it's going to mean that people are coming for more and more connectivity, more and more service. At the same time, you continue to see cloud adoption being driven. And we want to be at the convergence of that, using your phrase from earlier, thinking about, okay, if I'm a UK business, what challenges have I got to deal with? And they're myriad, aren't they? You've got employees you need to keep happy, satisfied, engaged, productive, wherever they are. You've got to augment their performance with AI. You've got to keep them highly connected, because all of those services need incredibly powerful networking capability that's highly secure, as we talked about earlier. And Gamma's going to be at the forefront of bringing those pieces together, I think, picking and choosing from our partners that we talked about before, making sure that we're building on the strengths that we've seen already, and really creating those highly bespoke solutions for each particular customer. And I think that's our uniqueness is people can buy WebEx from lots of places. They can buy Teams from lots of places. Fiber is as ubiquitous as it comes. But actually, if you're trying to apply it to solve your specific problem, you're trying to put high availability connectivity into lots of remote locations across the country, you need to look to someone who's also going to wrap that with an understanding of the business and a real sort of commitment to driving our own service capability to make sure that those things come to life. So I think it's going to be a blend of continuing to bring those products to life, continuing, frankly, to benefit from the investment those technology giants are making in the products, making it really contextually relevant for the customers that we're working with, and wrapping it in that deep understanding of how the world is evolving. What does AI mean for people? What does having totally ubiquitous connectivity need to mean? How do you introduce highly resilient services that can cover against any eventuality? Can you cover against any eventuality? But possibly not. Many eventualities. I think you're going to see those strength in depth services really come to the fore.
A lot of people talk about moments that matter. It would be remiss of us not to have a quick chat about a big moment that we've just had. We've just recently moved on to the FTSE.
Yep.
Been lucky enough to be with Gamma for a long period of time and seen quite a few moments that matter, but this really does feel like quite a big one. I certainly think it's a huge vote of confidence and a massive demonstration from us to our customers about who we are, what we want to be, how we run our business, how we govern our business, and I think that's a massive benefit to all of our customers. Yeah. What was it like going through that process, and what do you think it means for our customers?
So I mean, from my perspective, I look at some of my Exco colleagues and the amount of diligence, effort, real hard work they put into that process, and your hats off to them. They've taken us through an incredible transition. Actually, Rich McPhee was just downstairs talking about evolution versus transformation. For me, that's a transformation. You're going through that step change. I think what it means for Gamma, like you say, is it creates a standard now that actually we were holding ourselves to for a long time, actually, before we moved. But there's that external validation of it now. And people can look at us and know that we are a well-run company. We do care about the things that matter, the impact we're having on the environment, on society as a whole. And it means that we have access now to different and probably larger pools of capital. So our commitment to our customers goes up because we have to now keep a range of people happy with our performance as things progress as well. So I think it represents a real sort of testament to the strength of where Gamma's been in the past, the people who've built the business, including yourself, that you've created a lasting promise. And actually maybe it just creates a stronger legacy for the future, actually, that people come after us in Gamma. And the customers can choose to, will be hopefully choosing to invest into us because we've proven that we're able to meet that standard.
Well, like what you said there, you used the word promise, and it really leans into the word trust that we were discussing earlier, because I think for us, it is the promise we make to our customers, which I think is the bedrock of trust. I'm going to come to you for some closing comments, but just before I do, obviously we're at the GX, it just seems to get bigger and better every year. Yeah. We always challenge ourselves to how we're going to make it better next year. What's some immediate top of mind thoughts? It says, where can we go with this next year?
So credit to the team who put this on. This is the biggest GX we've ever done. We've got more people here from more customers representing more of the ecosystem that we're part of. And like you say, it's a journey. That standard, that promise you set is almost bound by an inherent dissatisfaction. There's always something you can improve. So I was in the expo area, which is, again, bigger. We've used the space better. And then suddenly you look at it and like, actually there's some logical combinations reflecting that convergence we're talking about that we can put into that to create richer stories actually next year. I think about how do we get to, if it's similar to being in that pivot point between hyperscalers and highly local, how do we tailor the content? How do we use the fact that people are expecting a more and more personalized experience to drive something which is perhaps more streamed, more oriented to, we know your problem, your interest is in this particular area. There's sessions and understanding about that. We know yours is about this. What about if you've been a customer of ours for a long time and you're thinking about how do you build and deepen that relationship? Or you're looking for the reassurance that we're still there and we still get versus a prospect. So there's like I'm a physicist by training, so everything to me looks like a grid. It's almost starting to think about how do we take this GX experience, which I think is exceptional, and just add that extra bit of individualistic relevance into things. So really driving it so that, when you're on stage talking about, you mentioned trust. What does that mean in a networking conversation? Probably means something different to what it means in a collaboration or a customer experience centric context. So how can we draw those themes which are true and bring them to life when you've got people in the audience who may have one background or another, and drive it into what that means for them? Because the concept of zero trust we talked about last year, actually, trust but verify. That means something really different when you're talking to a customer on a phone versus when you've got an employee sat in a Starbucks down the road and you're like, is that really you? So how do we draw that? I think that would be an interesting thing for me to take back to my team and think about how do we connect some of these experiences more directly to individuals. I mean, not a criticism of where we are, but like you say, that's standard. How can we make it better? Where's the fine points of refinement we can put in there?
I'd like to thank all of you today for joining us at GX. I hope you've really enjoyed the content. I hope you enjoyed the content that follows GX. GX for us is about a year-long slog, really, in between the events. We'd love to hear more from you. We'd love to make it bigger and better next year. And my challenge to you, all of our customers, is to put your hand up, because I think we really would like to mine more of your customer stories, more of the goodness about what you're doing in terms of how you're winning and being successful with technology. So we look forward to seeing you next year. Closing comments, Chris.
Closing comments. Yeah, I think I'd echo what you said. I would echo the thanks. Gamma's nothing without its customers. And we're incredibly privileged, actually, to have the range of people that we have in the audience with us today. So that's a moment of gratitude maybe for that. I think what I hope the audience sees is Gamma perhaps growing into the promise that it's made of being able to now draw larger and more authoritative people from within the partners that we work with to come and help our customers with their problems. And I want GX to be that place where people come, not just to hear you and I talk. We can do that endlessly, we know that, but to come and go, I learned something today that will help me drive an outcome tomorrow, or will help me frame a business problem and drive something through. So I think, if people leave the auditorium today with a little bit extra than they came in with, great. Like you say, help us tell the story. We want it to be about the customers. Mm-hmm. We want it to be about those stories. Help us help you as well.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot, Chris.
My pleasure as always, Alex.